be talking about purchasing. Should we use procurement categories or should we use service items? Hi, my name is Alicia, and today we're going to be talking about Microsoft Dynamics D365 Finance and Supply Chain. So when you're doing purchasing, you have things that are not inventoried, right? So you have inventory things that you may buy to put in inventory to use for manufacturing or shipping and those things. That's a topic for a different day. Today we're going to talk about those things that we buy but we don't inventory. So it could be things that we put on a purchase order or an AP invoice that could be like rent, office supplies, electricity, just anything you can think of, but you're not going to inventory it. It could even be OEM items. So things that you're going to buy to maintenance your machines, for example. So you're going to bring it in and expense it right away and it does not go into inventory. So you could either set that up as a procurement category or as a service item. What's the difference and which one should you use? So that's what we want to talk about today. So we're going to start out looking at procurement categories, and then we'll take a look at service items, and we'll look at the pros and cons of each so that you can make an educated decision when you get ready to cross this bridge of picking the one that you want to do. All right, so to start with, we're going to go into procurement and sourcing, and then we're going to go into procurement categories. So again, a procurement category is something you're going to put on a purchase order or a AP invoice that is not inventoried. So it's just saying, hey, I'm going to buy this and I need to be able to put it on a record, like a purchase order or an invoice to buy it and pay a vendor. So when you're in here, you can build a tree and you can have as many nodes in here as you want, which makes it kind of nice. Because you could actually have one in here called like OEM items, for your maintenance parts. And then maybe there's different ones below that, maybe another node for office supplies, and then the different things that you could buy for your office. So that way, when you go look at your purchase order, it's going to be in that tree structure. So I'm going to duplicate my tab at the top. We'll open purchase order so you can get a feel for what this is going to look like. And let's see here. So we'll make a new purchase order. So we're just going to click new at the top. And I'm just going to pick a vendor and click OK. When you're in the lines section, those purchase order lines here, you're going to see you have item and you have procurement category. Well, if you click on procurement category, you're going to see this tree. That tree comes from this setup and configuration here. Again, you can pick what, it's in the order, and you can pick it and you click OK and you can buy whatever it is you want to buy. A couple of things to know about procurement categories. So procurement categories is a shared table across your legal entities. So if you have 25 legal entities, they're all sharing the same procurement category table. So if I'm in one legal entity and I add a procurement category, all the other legal entities are also going to get that procurement category. That can be good or that can be bad. It depends on how different your different legal entities are. So that's one thing to know. The other thing to know is for procurement categories, you can set up purchasing policies. So you can do two-way and three-way matching if you choose to do so. So that's a good thing. You can also set it up so that procurement categories get accrued. So it's a purchase accrual if you do a receipt for a procurement category, which again is a nice feature to have. So procurement categories can be fantastic. It depends on what your business objective is. One thing to know about procurement categories is you cannot default financial dimensions. There's no place to put financial dimensions on a procurement category. So if we go over here and look at the setup for procurement categories, we'll see that there's just no place to put them. It doesn't exist. So you cannot put financial dimensions on a procurement category as a default. So that means that every time a person adds a procurement category to a purchase order or to an AP invoice, then they actually have to go in and code it and put the financial dimensions on it if you actually have your account structure set up to require financial dimensions for those GL accounts. So again, not a bad thing, but it's just something to know. So the other thing you can do is you can set up items. So we're going to go under product information management. And then we're going products and release products. Now, again, you do have a product type, and it's going to be service. So setting up a service item is very easy. You just click new and tell it's a service item, and then it's pretty much setting up as a basic item, but you don't have to deal with unit and measure conversions and some different things that you would on an inventoried item. But again, very simple to set up, very straightforward. The posting for the service item is set up on the item posting profile, which is the same place where you set up the postings for the procurement categories. So again, very similar. One of the nice things about service items is you can default the financial dimensions. So again, it is an item, so you can set it up and default your financial dimensions as you wish. The other thing that you can do as well is up here under purchase, you can actually set up the matching policies here by item. So again, if you want to do two-way, three-way matching, those kinds of things, you can set that up for that service item. Again, totally up to you if you're going to do a receipt or not. The other thing that you can do as well is the price tolerances. So on a on a service item, you're going to put that item on the purchase order, or sometimes you want to put a service item just on the pending vendor invoice. So let's say, for example, you got freight, right? So when you did the purchase order, you didn't know what the freight was going to be, so you don't even have it on the purchase order at all. But when you get the vendor invoice, you have freight, right? Well, you can either add it as a miscellaneous charge to the purchase order, to the pending vendor invoice. You could add it as a procurement category, or you could add it as a service item. And why I'm bringing this up is because if you are doing matching, price matching and stuff like that on the pending vendor invoice, and you know this isn't going to match because you don't have freight on the purchase order. So naturally, if you put freight on the AP invoice, it's not going to match. So what you can do is you can go in here and click new, and we can tell it that it's going to be our service item, right? And it can be for any vendor or a specific vendor. It's really up to you. But we could say that the tolerance is 100%, okay? So, and by doing that, now all of a sudden, we're saying, freight's going to be 100%. So it's when I click that match button, it's not going to expect it to be on the purchase order. So again, that's one of the nice things about doing the service items is you can do the matching, but here you can say, normally maybe you allow 3% over, that kind of thing, but it's not going to be on that at all. So you can say 100%, so that whatever freight you put on that pending vendor invoice, it's going to accept it. So that's how you can do that. So at the end of the day, your posting profiles for procurement categories and service items is virtually the same. You go into a little different spot on the posting profile, but again, you set it up virtually the same. You can do matching, two-way, three-way matching. You do it in two different places in the system, but again, you can do it for both procurement categories or service items. With service items, you can set up for your matching policies. You can also set the price tolerances, which is kind of a nice thing. And then also for service items, you can default your financial dimensions. So I would just encourage you that if you decide to use procurement categories, use procurement categories all the time. If you're going to use service items all the time. I wouldn't necessarily recommend mixing service items and procurement categories. From a systems perspective, it doesn't matter. So it's not like it's right or wrong, but just from a user capability, you'll have a higher success rate with your users if you pick service items or you pick procurement categories. So the next time you decide or you get challenged or asked, like, hey, how can we deal with these non-inventoried things that we buy? Now you know your options. You can use procurement categories or service items.